Hello, I'm Ellie Sutton.
And I'm Lillian Clark. We are going to talk about borders and intersections of possibility, the multilingual repertoires of refugee families in the Southwest U.S. by Laura A. Roy.
And we will start off with a summary portion. This article is really interesting because it was about the Somali Bantu people in southern Texas and the different bilingual groups throughout. And so they obviously don't speak English, but they came. Well, at the beginning, they didn't speak English. But they came and kind of realized that Spanish was more important than English. Well, not more important, but more common, more useful than English. And so that was kind of like a changed mindset from what we usually hear, which English is the most important. It is necessary when you're in the United States. But in this area of the nation, of the country, it was important for them to learn Spanish to help them along. We also learned from this article that borders are a lot more imaginary. They're just basically imaginary lines drawn on maps, but really there's social, political, and historical ways in which we divide our maps, both physically and metaphorically, and so that's where it creates the different groups and different themes among the country. It was really interesting that another thing that they really focused on was testimonials in this article, and these are stories of hardship or trials that are memories, and that they're not just memories, but they're experiences that happen, and they're passed down orally from generation to generation. And this was something that they were able to do to save the memories and learn from what happened, but also to connect with one another. And something else that was really interesting is that the families didn't really see that the introduction of English was like a wall being torn down or stripping them of their identity, but more so an extra resource and a tool in their tool belts to be able to succeed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I loved how diverse this area was. It's in southern Texas, so they have actually a majority Spanish speakers, even though Spanish is considered the minority. Mm-hmm. Politically, I guess, or on paper, but they're actually the population has mostly Spanish speakers. And then this was a group of people who spoke a different language. They spoke Mai. And so it's just a really diverse area where there's lots of multilingualism. It's just really linguistically diverse, and it was really cool. So like she was talking about, it's about the Somali Bantu people, and they're the ones in the interview. And I thought it was really interesting that they have multiple forms of, literacy or multiple languages represented in their homes. So even at home, they were watching TV in Spanish, watching TV in English. They had books in multiple different languages, and you can just see in their home that they were using all of these different languages cohesively. And those, she talked about physical borders, but those borders in their brain weren't super stiff, because they could read a book in Spanish and then watch a movie in Mai and then have a conversation in English, and it just kind of went back and forth because they could speak all of these different languages. And then I also really liked the teacher that they talked about, Miss Rios. She seemed really cool, and one thing that I really liked about her was that she taught multiple literacies, and she made the family stories, the oral storytelling, really important in the classroom and in that classroom culture, so that they can develop their cultural and personal identity. And I liked that she considered oral storytelling as a form of literacy. So she valued it academically as well, which I thought was really cool, and I'm sure very beneficial to her students.
Okay, now we will be talking about the praxis portion. So I really loved the idea of testimonials, and actually I was able to do it in my TEL 410 class, and we were able just to kind of, create, we were able to kind of take what we thought a testimonial was and our different memories or experiences and kind of put on paper. But I would love to do the same in my own classroom, where I introduce this as some kind of project where they're able to share and interact with their heritage and their culture. It doesn't have to be something major, dramatic, or they have to bring a whole spread of food or a whole festival or something like that, but just something that they can be able to really connect with their ancestry and their culture as well, so that they can be able to learn a little bit more about who they are, why they're here, all that fun stuff. And so I would love to implement this kind of activity or project in my classroom so that they're also able to understand each other's cultures and kind of understand, oh, that's why so and so wears this, or that's why so and so says this. So yeah.
Yeah, I also really liked that idea, and I loved the oral storytelling, that it can really just help them develop their cultural identity and see other people's culture as a positive thing. Yeah, and so I think in my classroom I could do that. I could also incorporate like oral literacy skills in presentations, and if this is difficult for them, they can make a presentation with visuals to help them to tell a family story or something like that. I think that would be really cool and really fun. And yeah, and I just want to make sure that they're able to translanguage in the classroom and bring their culture from home into the classroom in a variety of different ways. I loved Miss Rios and just how accepting she was of everyone's language. So she didn't just focus on the students who spoke Spanish, but she also included my intentionally in the classroom and in other things. And I want to make sure that I'm doing that I recognize each of my students' individuals' cultures, the value of that, and I want to be creative in finding ways to incorporate that in the classroom.
Okay, we will now be talking about the reflection portion. So I really like this article, and it was really neat to see the teachers highlighted in their efforts to include testimonials, like she talked about Ms. Rios, and just the opportunity that they had to implement bilingual learning opportunities in their classrooms. And it was also really neat to learn about a group of people who were just so adaptable that they came to Texas, came to the United States, and probably thought that they were going to learn English, but ended up learning Spanish instead. And so that has made me want to try to be a little bit more adaptable with all the different curveballs that are thrown my way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I loved this article. I thought it was really cool to see the inclusion of so many different cultures put together, especially the Mai culture, which I hadn't really learned about or knew very much about before. So it was cool to see them and to read about their experiences. And I also just love that it was focused in Southern Texas, in an area that is so culturally and linguistically diverse, because kind of like what she was talking about, we usually think of our students as English language learners. They're learning English, and and maybe they speak a different language, but English is always the goal, I guess, in our minds. But for them, it wasn't. It was a different language. It was Spanish. And yeah, there's just so much diversity, and I love to see how the school was handling that in that area.